Welcome back to the Drama Free Healthy Living podcast, and I'm your host, Jess Cording. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about how to protect your time and energy. This is huge. I have been an RD for a little over 10 years, and what I have found so many of my clients struggle with is feeling like they don't have enough time, or that one of the biggest barriers to taking care of themselves is feeling that there are so many other demands on their time that they can't prioritize their well-being. And I don't want to come across as being like, no, no excuses, like, because that's not the vibe here, right? Like, because anyone of you guys who knows me even a little bit, whether that is from real life or social media or this podcast, like, I get it. I know that sometimes crazy things happen, or you're just trying to do a lot in a short period of time. You want to help others, you want to get it all done. But then at the end of the day, you have to admit that you're human. And this is not easy. I think, especially those of us who grew up with the idea, being fed the idea that you can do anything, you can be anything, took that to heart and to mean that we need to do all of the things. I joke sometimes about being in recovery from girl boss hustle culture. So if you can relate, you might enjoy this podcast, especially. So a lot of these tips you're going to find in my second book, The Farewell Tour, A Caregiver's Guide to Stress Management, Sane Nutrition, and Better Sleep. But you do not have to be a caregiver to struggle with setting boundaries with your time and energy. It is just so easy to give our time away. And I have professional experience with this. I have personal experience with this. Like, I know that it can be really hard to draw those lines and to say, okay, this is what's for me, my time, and this is what time I have for others and to do other things. Um, so these are just a few tips to help you navigate that and protect your time and your energy a little bit better. So so let's talk about time stress first. So time stress, this can result from having a lot of demands on our time. So that feeling of worrying about whether you're going to get everything done, or stressing about your to-do list, feeling like there's not enough hours in the day, classic time stress. So for this, it's very important to identify your natural energy ebbs and flows. And I understand that we can't always control this, right? Like, for those of us who may be working for organizations where our hours are set and there are meetings scheduled for us, we can't always say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that," executive meeting, because I'm better suited to tasks like filing and at 2 p.m. I know that it's not always realistic, but like, as much as you can, identify which types of day are best suited for which types of tasks for you. And I personally found this one to be a game changer, and a lot of my clients as well have found this to be very useful, and that is batching tasks. So things that require similar energy, or that are alike, is a really great way to help you stay in a good energy flow and get more done in the time that you have. When we're constantly shifting from one type of task to another, we've got like 20 tabs open on our computer and our brain. It's really hard to get into a good groove. And you can please feel free to go back to previous episodes on this podcast with some of my psychology experts sharing their insight on attention span and focus. I will link to those in the show notes so you can check them out. But when we're shifting from one task to another, it can be really hard on our ability to focus, and that can make it harder to get things done in the time that we have. I also think it's really important to be realistic with yourself about what you can actually accomplish in a set amount of time. And I have been so guilty, and I will probably struggle with this my entire life. Setting really, like, putting together these really long to-do lists, and then getting down on myself when I don't do all of those things on there. So I got this tip from my friend Jacqueline London many years ago. I was interviewing her for Forbes, and she recommended having a must-do list. So those tasks that are absolutely essential. And if you're looking at your list and you're like, well, these are all important, like, I would say pick the top 1 to 3. That the things that are absolutely priorities. And if you need to, like, have a conversation with yourself out loud, and I've been known to do this, just that check-in of saying, okay, what truly is a priority in this moment, or what truly needs to happen today? And that can be a good guideline. So and then I think once you have your must-do list, you know, decide what to do first. I love the phrase eat the frog, which is, essentially you want to do the task you're most dreading first to just get it out of the way. I know that not everybody likes to do things that way. My husband and I joke about this a lot. Like he is a classic procrastinator. He will prefer to like play video games and do like random stuff on his phone until like the last minute that he has to do the thing. And I'm like, I can't rest until I do the thing. And then I can maybe rest. But then, I always struggle with like, well, then there's more things to do. So, but big picture, identify how you want to space out those tasks as much as possible. And again, it won't always be in your control, but I think being clear on what you need to accomplish, what your time frame is, being realistic with yourself about what you can actually do helps you make a realistic plan you can stick to rather than beating up on yourself for not getting done 20 things. It gives you the chance to feel accomplished that you tackled the top two that needed to get done. Um, and so beyond that, so let's talk a little bit about when there's others who are demanding your time and attention. And I remember the first time that I really came up, like someone really called me out on having a hard time saying no. It was, and I do tell the story in the farewell tour as well. But I was at this networking breakfast. I used to belong to this weekly networking group, and and I remember at the time my dad was really sick. I was exhausted from taking him to chemo and going back and forth between New York and New Jersey and running my business and just like never having a moment to just like be. And this person was asking me to help with this like some kind of committee of some kind, and it's like 7:50 in the morning, and I'm just staring at her, and I'm like, I didn't want to say I can't do that or I don't want to do that. I have no energy to do that. I started rattling off all these different reasons why I would love to do it, but I just can't right now. And I don't know. And she just stopped me. She interrupted me. She just said, no is a complete sentence. And I just remember like I felt like I wanted to melt into a puddle on the floor. Um, because she was totally right. I was just bullshitting. I wasn't bullshitting. I was just like talking in circles because I was too scared to actually say no. And do not be scared to say no, especially when it is something that is going to deplete your time and your energy. And because when we don't, you've heard this a million times, but when you don't fill your own cup, you don't have as much to give to others. So it's not selfish to set boundaries. Um, and it's not cowardly. It's not, being a failure if you can't do something. But, I often something I find useful for telling myself, and I've used this a lot with clients too, is like if you're thinking about it, wouldn't you rather to be told off the bat that, someone can't do something, and that way that you need to, then to reach out to someone else to help you with what you need, rather than, if that person commits to helping you and then they cancel at the last minute because they overcommitted and then you're left scrambling. Like, we don't like it when others do that to us. So why should we do that to other people because we don't want to tell them no? Um, so I just like to keep that in mind. Um, so yes, no is a complete sentence. And it can take practice to get more comfortable saying no. And you don't have to say the word no if you really like can't. You could you could say that you wish you could do something, but that, just say, my magic phrase is, I don't have the bandwidth right now. Um, I don't like to make up excuses. That's just not my style. My husband teases me that I'm physically incapable of lying. So if someone asks me a question, they are going to get an honest answer. This is like the Sagittarian's disease. But you don't owe people an explanation. Granted, if it's like a professional setting, it's your boss and you're having to explain why you're not able to commit to a certain thing, or you need to discuss your workload. I think it's important to have talking points and to be able to articulate some reasons why you may need different accommodations, or that you might not be able to do the thing that they're asking, or in the time frame. In that case, it's more opening a conversation. But I think that there are ways to soften the language and still get your point across, depending on your comfort level and the situation. This is another one that gosh, this one's been a game changer for my clients, which is to use a calendar to keep track of your time. And then put your own damn name on that calendar. Oh my gosh, especially if you use an electronic calendar where other people can book time, it is so easy to just watch that time get eaten up. So, this is something I started doing with clients, 6, 7 years ago, where, I would tell them to, if there was even if it was like 20 minutes a day, right? They just block off a little bit of time to take care of themselves, whether that's like take a break, do a workout, eat, something like very simple things that can be really hard to make time for, and just put their own name on their calendar. Aside from helping make sure that that thing that they need for their well-being gets done, it also, so when you see your own name on your calendar, it's also a subtle reminder that your stuff, your well-being matters just as much as all those other quote unquote priorities on your to-do list, on your calendar. So put your name on your calendar. I mean, I still do this today. Like, I look at my electronic calendar and I do have little blocks of time where it just says Jess. And it's a reminder to me not to book stuff there. Because if you are like me, a recovering people pleaser, it can be really daunting to like be looking at your calendar and to know that technically you're not doing anything for that 30-minute window that someone's asking of you. But, it takes discipline to honor that. But I know for myself, seeing my own name there is that reminder, like, hey, this you block this time off for a reason. Don't go back on that. So that can help. Also, getting organized, that's a big one. So by this, I mean, so that can mean physically organizing your space. The less time that you spend hunting for things can really help. If you are somebody who, whenever you start a new task, you're looking all over the place for the things that you need. Having a place for everything will save you tons of time and energy. And then there's also more just like having systems for like, how do you file documents on your computer, or your email? Are there certain ways that you do things, in your work day, in your workflow? Having systems, again, because you're not having to figure out how to do something every single time, it can save you so much energy and help you get into that focus mode so you can get in, do what you need to do, and get out much more effectively. And then kind of going on that, building on that a little bit, figure out what you can outsource. You know, um, and I understand this one can be really hard. Sometimes there are actual financial restraints, that make it hard to outsource things. And so, we don't all have the option to like pay someone to like clean our homes and cook for us and run our errands, or we can all hire an assistant full time. Like, I'm listening to this list, I'm like, these things sound really nice. Like, I think, but there are ways of getting like little taste of that support, or getting at least a little bit of support in some areas. I know for myself, I have found it very helpful to hire help with, like podcast production, things like, helping with some social media and some blog stuff and newsletter stuff here and there. At different times, you may have different needs. There have been times when I have invested, even a little bit to help, like to hire someone to clean my home once a month, because even that can make a big difference in the energy. But it can be other things that are not monetary. Like if that's getting a family member to walk the dog for you because you really just need that 15 minutes a day, or having, your tech savvy niece or nephew like help you figure out a computer thing that's really been like plaguing you. Like things like that don't actually cost anything can be really helpful. So I would encourage you to, brainstorm like which tasks, drain you, which things are just feel like an arduous chore, like the impossible task, which things you just hate doing, which things tend to derail your day, and figure out how you might be able to outsource even a little bit of that stuff. Like for example, maybe you can't afford to hire an assistant, for 40 hours a week or whatever. But maybe you can find someone who'll do like 5 to 10 hours a month for you of work that can really lighten your load. Um, but if you're someone like me who has a tendency to just try to do everything yourself without even thinking about it really, explore where that might be coming from. Is it, internal pressure, external pressure? Is it something that you learned along the way as a coping mechanism? I know for myself a lot when I, did some soul searching on this, I realized a lot of it was like old trauma response, feeling like I needed to prove myself, also feeling like I needed to stay busy. And, understanding where those things were coming from, it helped me to call myself out a little bit quicker, catch like, oh, you're doing the thing. And if you keep trying to do all this yourself, you're going to do a crap job because you won't be able to have the energy to really put in the good work in the areas you want to. So how about we not do this? I would also say just, pay attention to your energy, your emotional state, with different types of tasks. These are all really good clues for, what you can get support on. And then this one, it's a little more on the woo side of things. As a lot of you guys know, I grew up with and my mom was like always using sage and incense and essential oils and crystals to cleanse our house, especially because when I was a young teen, she was working with hypnotherapy clients in our house and needed to like cleanse the energy between clients and after clients, before clients. Also, that house was super haunted. Let's be real. If I had not believed in haunted houses, I think spending even like a weekend there would have turned me into a believer. But and it's funny, like I went super clinical with my training, but over the years, I've never abandoned those rituals. It never, I think because I grew up with it, it never occurred to me that it was anything like weird or, out there. It was just what we did. And today I still use different cleansing rituals, and not all of them are going to be like friendly to all workplaces. Like I know you can't always be like lighting candles or like burning incense or even diffusing aromatherapy, like essential oils. But maybe you can. One of my favorites, I like to put essential oils on like cotton swabs, so that way it's like a little bit of the smell, but it's not overwhelming. Or you can use a spray of different essential oils or cleansing. There's also different, I think the right word for this, like little rituals you can do with like your hands and breathing exercises, visualizations. I know for myself, if I am working with someone who I feel like I am an energy sponge. I've accepted this. And I will use different visualizations if I feel like I'm taking on too much of someone else's energy. I will visualize it, rolling off of my back, or that there's like a little um like a almost like an exhaust pipe on a car. There's like a way it's getting out, so it's not getting stuck in me. Whatever works for you. But I do feel like if you have a tendency to just pick up stuff that's not yours, energetically speaking, you need these cleansing rituals. Even if it's just little things to kind of mark, the beginning of the day, the end of the day, I think those can be very nice. So whether that is like a short meditation before you start your work day, and then another one when you end your work day, or movement as a ritual. There's so many ways that this can look, but that can be very helpful in drawing lines in the sand, so to speak, of like, okay, what's work energy, what's home energy, what's other people's energy, what's your energy. Definitely lead into those rituals. And they don't have to be super woo. Just because I grew up with that around. There's so many more um say mainstream ways of incorporating ritual. And then lastly, have a mood boosting toolkit, so to speak. So those times when you feel your energy starting to lag, to sound like my mom, like when the vibes start to feel low, those negative, like low vibrating energies that are just don't feel good, that are going to kind of suck you down. That's when it's good to have some things to turn to, like whether that is like music that is uplifting for you, movement. There's some cool research, like when we look at like trauma research on like dancing and moving and shaking, and or maybe you watch funny animal videos because that helps you laugh and that brings some lightness. That could be something like connecting with loved ones. I mentioned aromatherapy. Smell is so powerful for impacting our mood and our emotions and our energy. Or if there's hobbies that bring you enjoyment and that shift your energy from feeling kind of low to feeling like relaxed and positive and upbeat. It's very personal, so there's no wrong answer. I mean, I guess if we were to say wrong answer, like anything that causes you harm or causes someone else harm, maybe not that. But I think anything that helps you feel better is a like truly feel better, not like put a band-aid on it, feel better, like chug a glass of wine or something. That's not actually going to help you feel better. But to something that will shift your energy in a positive way. And then lastly, ask for help. And I know this is hard. Uh, I know a lot of you guys are listening, so like, I can't do that. Ask for help. I'm the one people come to for help. Hey, I get it. And I always say if I can learn how to ask for help, you can do it. And it's hard, but practice. So things like being specific about what you need help with, because that gives the person you're asking to help you clear guidance. They know exactly what you need. And then, don't say sorry. Don't open with like, don't apologize. Don't say, I'm sorry to ask this, because that's already putting out like a weird kind of icky energy into that, like off that ask, right? Like, you don't want to approach it with that kind of like, I'm so sorry. And listen, like I grew up Catholic. Like sorry is like how we punctuate. I'm not gonna identify as Catholic anymore, but like it's like was drilled into me as a kid. Like you just like apologize for like taking up space. As I'm saying that now, that might not be a Catholic thing. That might just be like a my family thing. And of course, I became a dietitian. But don't apologize. We all need to ask for help sometimes. And then say thank you. Gratitude is so powerful. And especially if you're asking someone to help you with something, rather than apologizing to let them know that, like, this is a big deal for you, say thank you. Like, it's like two sides of the same coin, right? I think that the gratitude is the heads up side. Like if you say thank you and you let that person know that you truly appreciate them and what they are helping you with, that adds good energy to the ask. So why not infuse that asking for help with that positive energy? So that's just my little spiel on some ways that you can protect your time and your energy. If you guys have questions about this, please feel free. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Jess Cording. And you're welcome to visit my website, jessicacordingnutrition.com, to check out my books, check out more podcast episodes if you want to, find info on my courses, read my blog, all that stuff. So as always, thank you for being here. If you like what you hear, I would highly encourage you to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It does help me continue to bring you content. And if there's someone that you think would benefit from this episode, maybe there's a people pleaser in your life or someone who's always trying to do it themselves, share this with them. Maybe it'll help them start prioritizing themselves a little bit more. As always, you guys, thank you for your time and your energy. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.